All right, we are coming up on 8 o'clock. So, let's settle in, get comfortable, pull up a chair and a drink. So we've got a little bit ahead of us tonight. I might have been a little preemptive there. Ads should be ending right now. All right, yeah, so anyway, as we were saying, welcome back. This is our fourth, fifth, I've lost track of time, and fourth, it seems, unless I forgot to increment the number up. Anyway, we're back with Ernest Hemingway's A Farewell to Arms. And before, in the first few days, I'd made a comment that Hemingway's comfy, that there's not a whole lot of existential drama going on. It's just sort of a day in, day out. Yes, things are happening, but it's more interpersonal things. All that, throw it out the window. Last time, things went a little off the rails. You may recall that our MC decided that as he was on the mend and had a date to be shipped back out, it was a fantastic time to develop alcoholism. Speedrunning gout, speedrunning liver failure, as it is. The armed forces, the Italian armed forces at least, tend to frown on that behavior and do not accept it as a reason for medical leave. No, they'll just send you back all the faster. If you're trying to off yourself, you might as well do it with a gun in hand, right? That could have been phrased a little bit better, but circumstances are. Then, to add to the misfortunes, the crises, we found that Miss Bridget, the paramour we have, has reportedly come down with child. And, reminder, this is the early 1900s. It is rather frowned upon to have these sorts of things happen outside of wedlock. Nurses already have a bit of a reputation out on the war front, and it seems she's playing right into it. Now, may have been saying all along that in her heart they were already married. Well, that's all well and good, but the state does not really recognize that, now does it? Nor do the neighbors. And yes, it is very likely that he'd had alcoholic tendencies before, but they'd been exacerbated. I won't say that in the times everyone did, because that would strictly be untrue, but it was rather a bit more out in the open than it is now. Not a whole lot other opportunities for distraction. And so things will play out as they will. But all that aside, the time has come, and he's shipping off back to the front, ostensibly to be an ambulance driver again, so not really entirely in harm's way, but also as another reminder, World War I was really where they were starting to write the book on war crimes. There weren't the Geneva Conventions, there weren't a lot of the rules and regulations and codes of honor among conflict that we are more flagrantly in ignoring these days. But that's because they were in the process of writing them. If no one commits war crimes, there's not a war crime yet. So you need to start somewhere, right? Take up your pen and do some dastardly. And that's what we're starting to see here. So he may be a little less safe than might be desired, despite running under the flag of ostensibly a medic. But we'll see how things shape out. He's been wounded once, but we've still got half a book ahead of us, so it could go swimmingly. Yeah, everything's gonna go great. All right, so let's go ahead and shift back over to our reading nook and see what we have tonight. I need to adjust the source because that is the bookshelf, not the not our page. There we are. All right, so we are resuming tonight from chapter 24 of A Farewell to Arms. We walked down the stairs instead of taking the elevator. The carpet on the stairs was worn. I had paid for the dinner when it came up, and the waiter, who had brought it, was sitting on a chair near the door. He jumped up and bowed, and I went with him into the side room and paid the bill for the room. The manager had remembered me as a friend and refused payment in advance, but when he retired he had remembered to have the waiter stationed at the door so that I should not get out without paying. I suppose that had happened even with his friends. One had so many friends in a war. I asked the waiter to get us a carriage, and he took Catherine's package that I was carrying and went out with an umbrella. Outside, through the window, we saw him crossing the street in the rain. We stood in the side room and looked out the window. How do you feel, Cat? Sleepy. I feel hollow and hungry. Have you anything to eat? Yes, in my musette. I saw the carriage coming. It stopped, the horse's head hanging in the rain, and the waiter stepped out, opened his umbrella, and came toward the hotel. We saw him at the door and walked out under the umbrella, down the wet walk to the carriage at the curb. The water was running in the gutter. There is your package on the seat, the waiter said. He stood with the umbrella until we were in, and I had tipped him. Many thanks. Pleasant journey, he said. The coachman lifted the reins, and the horse started. The waiter turned away under the umbrella and went toward the hotel. We drove down the street and turned to the left, then came around to the right in front of the station. There were 2 carabinieri standing under the light just out of the rain. The light shone on their hats. The rain was clear and transparent against the light from the station. A porter came out from under the shelter of the station, his shoulders up against the rain. No, I said, thanks. I don't need thee. We went back under the shelter in the archway. I turned to Catherine. Her face was in the shadow from the hood of the carriage. We might as well say goodbye. I can't go in? No. Goodbye, Cat. Goodbye, Cat. Oh, hello! Wow, this is a welcome surprise. We just got started. Thanks for joining us. I suppose I'll go through a little bit of introductions. I am Arthur Irving-Rush. We exclusively read around here. Right now, we're reading A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. Typically, or during the week, we read classics, other things that are in the public domain. On Saturdays, we get around to something a little bit more modern. This Saturday, we'll be continuing our reading of Hyperion. We try to keep things a little chill and low-key around here, but you are welcome to chat, interact, and I will do my best to keep up. So, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for rating. I hope you had a lovely stream. I don't believe we've met, so if you care to give yourself an introduction as I remember how to do a shout-out, you are more than welcome to. I believe I spelled that right. All right, well, while we're getting settled, I'll go ahead and continue along our page here, and maybe we can get to a decent stopping point, and we can have a little bit of a chat. Will you tell him the hospital? Yes. I told the driver the address to drive to. He nodded. Goodbye, I said. Take good care of yourself and young Catherine. Goodbye, darling. Goodbye, I said. I stepped out into the rain, and the carriage started. Catherine leaned out, and I saw her face in the light. She smiled and waved. The carriage went up the street. Catherine pointed in toward the archway. I looked. There were only the two carabinieri and the archway. I realized she meant for me to get in out of the rain. I went in and stood and watched the carriage turn the corner. Then I started through the station and down the runway to the train. The porter was on the platform looking for me. I followed him into the train, crowding past people and along the aisle and in through a door to where the machine gunner sat in the corner of a full compartment. My rucksack and musettes were above his head on the luggage rack. There were many men standing in the corridor, and the men in the compartment all looked at us when we came in. There were not enough places in the train, and everyone was hostile. The machine gunner stood up for me to sit down. Someone tapped me on the shoulder. I looked around. It was a very tall, gaunt captain of artillery with a red scar along his jaw. He had looked through the glass in the corridor, and then came in. What do you say? I asked. I turned and faced him. He was taller than I, and his face was very thin under the window of his cap visor, and the scar was new and shiny. Everyone in the compartment was looking at me. You can't do that, he said. You can't have a soldier save your place. I have done it. He swallowed, and I saw his Adam's apple go up and then down. The machine gunner stood in front of the place. Other men looked in through the glass. No one in the compartment said anything. Yeah, I'm something of an oddity. There's a few of us readers that are around on Twitch, but something of an anachronism around here. You have no right to do that. I was here 2 hours before you came. What do you want? A seat. So do I. I watched his face and could feel the whole compartment against me. I did not blame them. He was in the right, but I wanted the seat. Still, no one said anything. Oh, hell, I thought. Sit down, Signor Capitano, I said. The machine gunner moved out of the way, and the tall captain sat down. He looked at me. His face seemed hurt. but he had the seat. "Get my things," I said to the machine gunner. We went out in the corridor. The train was full, and I knew there was no chance of a place. I gave the porter and the machine gunner 10 lire apiece. They went down the corridor and outside on the platform, looking in the windows, but there were no places. "Maybe some will get off at Brescia," the porter said. "More will get on at Brescia," said the machine gunner. I said goodbye to them, and we shook hands, and they left. They both felt badly. Inside the train, we were all standing in the corridor when the rain started. I watched the lights of the station and the yards as we went out. It was still raining, and soon the windows were wet, and you could not see out. Later, I slept on the floor of the corridor, first putting my pocketbook with my money and papers in it inside my shirt and trousers so that it was inside the leg of my breeches. I slept all night, waking at Brescia and Verona when more men got on the train, but going back to sleep at once. I had my head on one of the musettes and my arms around the other, and I could see the pack, and they could all walk over me if they wouldn't step on me. Men were sleeping on the floor all down the corridor. Others stood, holding onto the window rods or leaning against the doors. That train was always crowded. All right, that brings us to the end of book 2. So yeah, we've got a couple minutes here to stop over. So most people that do readings on Twitch and in any platforms do tend to have some variety in their streams, and I certainly do not begrudge them that. I've thought of maybe adding a little bit of variety myself, whether it be playing some classic RPGs or something, just to lean into it, whether it be basically reading books but a game attached. Maybe I'll do some visual novels or something down the line. I don't know. We'll see. But we've only been going for... yeah, just pointed at the cats. We've been going for... we started at the end of January, so we're really just finding our groove, finding our niche. And I like it. I like what we've got going on here. We'd been streaming over on YouTube for about a year before that. So we've got a little bit of experience. Not really a huge following, huge group, family around here, but I like it that way. It's cozy. And so far, we're doing all right. But I am certainly open to other activities. So if people would like us to try and do some more, I can explore. We'll see what we can do. Thanks, I appreciate it. All right, let's go ahead and continue. We've got book 3 of A Farewell to Arms, chapter 25. Now, in the fall, the trees were all bare, and the roads were muddy. I rode to Gorizia from Udine on the camion. We passed other camions on the road, and I looked at the country. The mulberry trees were bare, and the fields were brown. There were wet, dead leaves on the roads from the rows of bare trees, and the men were working on the road, tamping stone in the ruts from piles of crushed stone along the side of the road between the trees. We saw the town with mist over it that cut off the mountains. We crossed the river, and I saw that it was running high. It had been raining in the mountains. We came into the town, past the factories, and then the houses and villas, and I saw that many more houses had been hit. On a narrow street, we passed a British Red Cross ambulance. The driver wore a cap, and his face was thin and very tanned. I did not know him. I got down from the camion, and in the big square in front of the town major's house. The driver handed down my rucksack, and I put it on and swung on the 2 musettes and walked to our villa. It did not feel like a homecoming. I walked down the damp gravel driveway, looking at the villa through the trees. The windows were all shut, but the door was open. I went in and found the major, sitting at a table in the bare room with maps and typed sheets of paper on the wall. "Hello," he said. "How are you?" He looked older, drier. "I'm good," he said. "How is everything?" It's all over, he said. Take off your kit and sit down. I put my pack and the 2 musettes on the floor and my cap on the pack. I brought the other chair over from the wall and sat down by the desk. It's been a bad summer, the Major said. Are you strong now? Yes. Did you ever get the decorations? Yes, I got them fine. Thank you very much. Let's see them. I opened my cape so you could see the 2 ribbons. Did you get the boxes with the medals? No, just the papers. The boxes will come later. That takes more time. What do you want me to do? The cars are all away. There are 6 up in North Caporetto. You know Caporetto? Yes, I said. I remembered it as a little white town with a campanile in a valley. It was a clean little town. There was a fine fountain in the square. They are working from there. There are many sick now. The fighting is over. Where are the others? There are 2 up in the mountains and 4 still on Benzita. The other 2 ambulance sections are up in the Corso with the Third Army. What do you wish me to do? You can go and take over the 4 cars on the Benzita if you like. Gino has been up there a long time. You haven't seen it up there, have you? No. It was very bad. We lost 3 cars. I heard about it. Yes, Rinaldi wrote you. Where is Rinaldi? He's here at the hospital. He's had a summer and a fall of it. I believe it. It has been bad, the Major said. You couldn't believe how bad it's been. I've often thought you were lucky to be hit when you were. I know I was. Next year will be worse, the Major said. Perhaps they will attack now. They say they are to attack, but I can't believe it. It's too late. You saw the river. Yes, it's high already. I don't believe they will attack now that the rains have started. You'll have the snow soon. What about your countrymen? Will there be other Americans besides yourself? They're training an army of 10 million. I hope we get some of them, but the French will hog them all. We'll never get any down here. All right. You stay here tonight and go out tomorrow with the little car and send Gino back. I'll send somebody with you that knows the road. Gino will tell you everything. They're shelling quite a little still, but it is all over. You will want to see the Benzita. I'm glad to see it. I'm glad to be back with you again, Signor Maggiore. He smiled. You're very good to say so. I'm very tired of this war. If it was away, I do not believe I would come back. Is it so bad? Yes, it is so bad and worse. Go get cleaned up and find your friend Rinaldi. I went out and carried my bags up the stairs. Rinaldi was not in the room, but his things were there, and I sat down on the bed and unwrapped my puttees, and took the shoe off my right foot. Then I lay back on the bed. I was tired, and my right foot hurt. It seemed silly to lie on the bed with one shoe off, so I sat up and unlaced the other shoe and dropped it on the floor, then lay back on the blanket again. The room was stuffy, with the window closed, but I was too tired to get up and open it. I saw my things were all in one corner of the room. Outside it was getting dark. I lay on the bed and thought about Catherine, and waited for Rinaldi. I was going to try not to think about Catherine except at night before I went to sleep, but now I was tired. There was nothing to do. So I lay and thought about her. I was thinking about her when Rinaldi came in. He looked just the same. Perhaps he was a little thinner. Well, baby, he said. I sat up on the bed. He came over, sat down, put his arm around me. Good old baby. He whacked me on the back, and I held both his arms. Old baby, he said. Let me see your knee. I'll have to take off my pants. Take off your pants, baby. We're old friends here. Want to see what kind of job they did? I stood up, took off the breeches, and pulled off the knee brace. Rinaldi sat on the floor and bent the knee gently back and forth. He ran his finger along the scar, put his thumbs together over the kneecap, and rocked the knee gently with his fingers. Is that all the articulation you have? Yes. It's a crime to send you back. They ought to get a complete articulation. It's a lot better than it was. It was stiff as a board. Rinaldi bent it more and watched his hands. He had fine surgeon's hands. I looked at the top of his head, his hair shiny and parted smoothly. He bent the knee too far. Ouch! I said. You ought to have more treatment on it with the machines, Rinaldi said. It's better than it was. I see that, baby. This is something I know more about than you. He stood up and sat down on the bed. The knee itself is a good job. He was through with the knee. Tell me all about everything. There's nothing to tell, I said. I've led a quiet life. Bullshit, man. You act like a married man, he said. What's the matter with you? Nothing, I said. What's the matter with you? This war is killing me, Rinaldi said. I am very depressed by it. He folded his hands over his knee. Oh, I said. What's the matter? Can't I even have human impulses? No, I can see you've been having a fine time. Tell me. All summer and all fall I've operated. I work all the time. I do everybody's work. All the hard ones they leave to me. By God, baby, I'm becoming a lovely surgeon. That sounds better. I never think. No, by God, I don't think. I operate. That's right. But now, baby, it's all over. I don't operate now, and I feel like hell. This is a terrible war, baby. You believe me when I say it. Now you cheer me up. Did you bring the phonograph records? Yes. They were wrapped in paper in a cardboard box in my rucksack. I was too tired to get them out. Don't you feel good yourself, baby? I feel like hell. This war is terrible, Rinaldi said. Come on. We'll both get drunk and be cheerful. Then we'll go get the ashes dragged. Then we'll feel fine. I've had the jaundice, I said, and I can't get drunk. Oh, baby, how you've come back to me. You come back serious and with a liver. I tell you, this war's a bad thing. Why did we make it anyway? We'll have a drink. I don't want to get drunk, but we'll have a drink. Rinaldi went across the room to the washstand and brought back 2 glasses and a bottle of cognac. It's Austrian cognac, he said. 7 stars. It's all they captured on San Gabriel. Were you up there? No, I haven't been anywhere. I've been here all the time operating. Look, baby, this is your old toothbrushing glass. I kept it all the time to remind me of you. To remind you to brush your teeth. No, I have my own, too. I kept this to remind me of you trying to brush away the Villa Rosa from your teeth in the morning, swearing and eating aspirin and cursing harlots. Every time I see that glass, I think of you trying to clean your conscience with a toothbrush. He came over to the bed. Kiss me once and tell me you're not serious. I'd never kiss you. You're an ape. I know. You are a fine, good Anglo-Saxon boy. I know. You are the remorse boy. I know. I will wait till I see the Anglo-Saxon brushing away harlotry with a toothbrush. Put some cognac in the glass. We touched glasses and drank. Rinaldi laughed at me. I will get you drunk and take out your liver and put you in a good Italian liver. Make you a man again. I held the glass for some more cognac. It was dark outside now. Holding the glass of cognac, I went over and opened the window. The rain had stopped falling. It was colder outside, and there was a mist in the trees. Don't throw the cognac out the window, Rinaldi said. If you can't drink it, give it to me. Go something yourself, I said. I was glad to see Rinaldi again. He had spent 2 years teasing me, and I had always liked it. We understood each other very well. Are you married? He asked from the bed. I was standing against the wall by the window. Not yet. Are you in love? Yes. With that English girl? Yes. Poor baby. Is she good to you? Of course. I mean, is she good to you? Practically speaking. Oh, shut up. I will. You will see I'm a man of extreme delicacy. Does she... Rin said, please, shut up. If you want to be my friend, shut up. I don't want to be your friend, baby. I am your friend. Then shut up. All right. I went over to the bed and sat down beside Rinaldi. He was holding his glass and looking at the floor. You see how it is, Renan. Oh, yes, all my life I encounter sacred subjects, but very few with you. Suppose you must have them too. He looked at the floor. You haven't any? No. Not any. No. I can say this about your mother, and that about your sister. And that about your sister, said Rinaldi. Rinaldi said swiftly. We both laughed. The old Superman, I said. I am jealous, maybe. Rinaldi said. No, you're not. I don't mean like that. I mean something else. Have you any married friends? Yes, I said. I haven't. Rinaldi said. Not if they love each other. Why not? They don't like me. Why not? I am the snake. I am the snake of reason. You're getting it mixed. The apple was reason. No, it was the snake. He was more cheerful. You are better when you don't think so deeply, I said. I love you, baby, he said. You puncture me when I become a great Italian thinker, but I know many things I can't say. I know more than you. Yes, you do. But you will have a better time. Even with remorse, you will have a better time. I don't think so. Oh, yes, that is true. Already I am only thinking when I am working. He looked at the floor again. You'll get over that. No, I only like 2 other things. One is bad for my work, and the other is over in half an hour or 15 minutes. Sometimes less. Sometimes a good deal less. Perhaps I have improved, baby. You do not know. But there are only 2 things, and my work. You'll get other things. No, we never get anything. We are born with all we have, and we never learn. We never get anything new. We all start complete. You should be glad not to be a Latin. There's no such thing as a Latin. That is Latin thinking. You are so proud of your defects. Rinaldi looked up and laughed. We'll stop, baby. I'm tired from thinking so much. He looked tired when he came in. It's nearly time to eat. I'm glad you're back. You're my best friend and my war brother. When do the war brothers eat? I asked. Right away. We'll drink once more, for your liver's sake. Like St. Paul, you are inaccurate. That was wine, and the stomach. Take a little wine for your stomach's sake. Whatever you have in the bottle, I said, for any sake you mention. To your girl, Rinaldi said. He held out his glass. All right. I'll never say a dirty thing about her. Don't strain yourself. He drank off the cognac. I am pure, he said. I am like you, baby. I only get an English girl, too. As a matter of fact, I knew your girl first, but she was a little tall for me. A tall girl for her sister, he quoted. You have a lovely pure mind, I said. Haven't I? That's why they call me Rinaldo Purissimo. Rinaldo Sporchissimo. Come on, baby. We'll go down to eat while my mind is still pure. I washed, combed my hair, and we went down the stairs. Rinaldi was a little drunk. In the room where we ate, the meal was not quite ready. I'll go get the bottle, Rinaldi said. He went off up the stairs. I sat at the table, and he came back with the bottle and poured us each a half tumbler of cognac. Too much, I said, and held up the glass and sighted at the lamp on the table. Not for an empty stomach. It is a wonderful thing. It burns out the stomach completely. Nothing is worse for you. All right. Self-destruction, day by day, Rinaldi said. It ruins the stomach and makes the hand shake. Just the thing for a surgeon. You recommend it? Heartily. I use no other drink. No other. Drink it down, baby. I look forward to being sick. I drank half the glass. In the hall, I could hear the orderly calling, Syrup! Syrup is ready! The major came in, nodded to us, and sat down. He seemed very small at table. Is this all we are? Is this all we are? Yes. The orderly put the soup bowl down, and he ladled out a plate full. We are all, Rinaldi said, unless the priest comes. If he knew Federico was here, he would be here. Where is he? I asked. He's at 307, the major said. He was busy with the soup. He wiped his mouth, wiping his upturned grey moustache carefully. He will come, I think. I called him and left word to tell him you were here. I missed the noise of the mess, I said. Yes, it's quiet, the major said. I will be noisy, said Rinaldi. Drink some wine, Enrico, said the major. He filled my glass. The spaghetti came in, and we were all busy. We were finishing the spaghetti when the priest came in. He was the same as ever, small and brown and compact looking. I stood up and we shook hands. He put his hand on my shoulder. I came as soon as I heard, he said. Sit down, the major said. You're late. Good evening, priest, Rinaldi said, using the English word. They had taken that up from the priest-baiting captain, who spoke a little English. Good evening, Rinaldo, the priest said. The orderly brought him soup, but he said he would start with the spaghetti. All right, we've got an ad starting. I think I made a slight adjustment as I was futzing with things earlier, so we're going to take a short break while the ads are running so that nobody has to miss anything, and we'll be back in just a little bit, and I'll futz with some settings here. All right, I think that got that sorted. Yeah, that enrolled me in a new thing for the ads, and well, now it wants it's throwing me all off. It wants another ad in 15 minutes, but then the next one will be an hour stretch after, so I think we should be fine with that setting change. For those of you who are new around here, we have just recently hit affiliate, and I have no idea what I'm doing. But I wouldn't have it any other way. We'll figure it out together, right? All right, let's pick back up where we'd left off. The priest had just sat down to dinner and was skipping the soup. You know what? Blaming Twitch is entirely valid. I'll not fight you on that one. How are you? He asked me. Fine, I said. How have things been? Drink some wine, priest, Rinaldi said. Take a little wine for your stomach's sake. St. Paul, you know. Yes, I know, said the priest politely. Rinaldi filled his glass. That's St. Paul, said Rinaldi. He's the one who makes all the trouble. The priest looked at me and smiled. I could see that the baiting did not touch him now. That's St. Paul, Rinaldi said. He was a rounder and a chaser, and then, when he was no longer hot, he said it was no good. When he was finished, he made the rules for us who are still hot. Isn't it true, Federico? The major smiled. We were eating meat stew now. I never discuss a saint after dark, I said. The priest looked up from the stew and smiled at me. There he is, gone over with the priest. Rinaldi said. Where are all the good old priest maters? Where's Cavalcanti? Where's Brundi? Where's Cesare? Do I have to bait this priest all alone without support? He is a good priest, said the Major. He is a good priest, said Rinaldi, but still a priest. I tried to make the mess like the old days. I want to make Federico happy. To hell with you, priest! I saw the Major look at him and noticed that he was drunk. His thin face was white. The line of his hair was very black against the white of his forehead. It's all right, Rinaldo, said the priest. It's all right. To hell with you, said Rinaldi. To hell with the whole damn business. He sat back in his chair. He's been under a strain, and he's tired, the Major said to me. He finished his meat and wiped up the gravy with a piece of bread. I don't give a damn, Rinaldi said to the table. To hell with the whole business. He looked defiantly around the table, his eyes flat, his face pale. All right, I said. To hell with the whole damn business. No, said Rinaldi. You can't do it. You can't do it. I say you can't do it. You're dry and you're empty and there's nothing else. There's nothing else, I tell you. You're not a damn thing. I know when I stop working. The priest shook his head. The orderly took away the stew dish. What are you eating meat for? Rinaldi turned to the priest. Don't you know it's Friday? It's Thursday, the priest said. It's a lie. It's Friday. You're eating the body of our Lord. It's god meat. I know. It's dead Austrian. That's what you're eating. The white meat is from officers, I said, completing the old joke. Rinaldi laughed. He filled his glass. Don't mind me, he said. I'm just a little crazy. You ought to have a leave, the priest said. The Major shook his head at him. Rinaldi looked at the priest. You think I ought to have a leave? The Major shook his head at the priest. Rinaldi was looking at the priest. Just as you like, he said. Not if you don't want. To hell with you, Rinaldi said. They try to get rid of me. Every night they try to get rid of me. I fight them off. What if I have it? Everybody has it. The whole world's got it first. He went on, assuming the manner of a lecturer. It's a little pimple. When we notice a rash between the shoulders, then we notice nothing at all. We put our faith in Mercury. Oh, Salvason, the Major interrupted quietly. A mercurial product, Rinaldi said. He acted very elated now. I know something worth 2 of that. Good old priest. You'll never get it. Baby will get it. It's an industrial accident. It's a simple industrial accident. The orderly brought in the sweet and the coffee. The dessert was a sort of a black bread pudding with hard sauce. The lamp was smoking, the black smoke going close up inside the chimney. Bring 2 candles and take away the lamp, the Major said. The orderly brought 2 lighted candles, each in a saucer, and took out the lamp, blowing it out. Rinaldi was quiet now. He seemed all right. We talked, and after the coffee, we all went out into the hall. You want to talk to the priest? I have to go into the town, Rinaldo said. Good night, priest. Good night, Rinaldo, the priest said. I'll see you, Freddy, Rinaldi said. Yes, I said. Come in early. He made a face and went out the door. The Major was standing with us. He's very tired and overworked, he said. He thinks, too, he has syphilis. I don't believe it, but he may have. He's treating himself for it. Good night. You will leave before daylight, Enrico? Yes. Goodbye, then. Good luck, Peruzzi. We'll wake you and go with you. Goodbye, Signor Maggiore. Goodbye. They talk about an Austrian offensive, but I don't believe it. I hope not. But anyway, it won't be here. Gino will tell you everything. The telephone works well now. I'll call regularly. Please do. Good night. Don't let Rinaldi drink so much brandy. I'll try not to. Good night, priest. Good night, Signor Maggiore. He went off into his office. All right, that brings us to the end of chapter 25. That was kind of a darker mirror at the start of of the 3rd book compared to when we first opened up book 1. where really the first sign we saw of a lot of the characters and of the opening of the book in general was at the mess, where there were more of them. They were rather more boisterous and friendly. The war had been going on, but not really in the same way that we, with the benefit of hindsight, know World War I would have been going. So the surgeon is trying his best to keep things feeling like they used to. Maybe for his own benefit, maybe for Federico's benefit. But it's almost a sad sort of state as it goes on, where it's hollow. It feels like it's missing so much of the spirit and joy that was there at the mess when things were just starting. Now that there are empty seats at the table, there are friends missing, and there are more serious consequences hanging on. So we'll just have to see, going through the motions. Very, very true. We'll have to see what other sorts of changes we'll spot as we carry on, and now change focus as our narrator, our main character here, is going off to another front, away from his friend after being away for so long, only to just now get reconnected for so short a time. Just in time to rekindle his alcoholism. Hooray! Alright. Chapter 26. I went to the door and looked out. It had stopped raining, but there was a mist. Should we go upstairs? I asked the priest. I can only stay a little while. Come on up. We climbed the stairs and went into my room. I lay down on Rinaldi's bed. The priest sat on my cot and that the orderly had set up. It was dark in the room. Well, he said, how are you really? I am all right. I'm tired tonight. I'm tired too, but for no cause. What about the war? I think it'll be over soon. I don't know why, but I feel it. How do you feel it? You know how your major is. Gentle. Many people are like that now. I feel that way myself, I said. It has been a terrible summer, said the priest. He was surer of himself now than when I had gone away. You cannot believe how it's been, except that you've been there and you know how it can be. Many people have realized the war this summer. Officers whom I thought could never realize it now. What will happen? I stroked the blanket with my hand. I do not know, but I do not think it can go on much longer. What will happen? They will stop fighting. Who? Both sides. I hope so, I said. You don't believe it? I don't believe both sides will stop fighting at once. I suppose not. It is too much to expect, but when I see the changes in men, I do not think it can go on. Who won the fighting this summer? No one. The Austrians won, I said. They kept them from taking San Gabriel. They've won. They won't stop fighting. If they feel as we feel, they may stop. They've gone through the same thing. No one ever stopped when they were winning. You discourage me. I can only say what I think. Then you think it will go on and on? Nothing will ever happen? I don't know. I only think the Austrians will not stop when they have won a victory. It is in defeat that we become Christian. The Austrians are Christian, except for the Bosnians. I don't mean technically a Christian. I mean like our Lord. He said nothing. We are all gentler now because we are beaten. How would our Lord have been if Peter had rescued him in the garden? It would have been just the same. I don't think so, he said. You discourage me. I don't think so, I said. You discourage me, I said. I believe, and I pray that something will happen. I have felt it very close. Something may happen, I said, but it will happen only to us. If they felt the way we do, it would be all right. But they have beaten us. They feel another way. Many of the soldiers have always felt this way. It is not because they were beaten. They were beaten to start with. They were beaten when they took them from their farms and put them in the army. That is why the peasant has wisdom, because he is defeated from the start. Put him in power and see how wise he is. You do not say anything. He was thinking. Now I am depressed myself. I said, that's why I never think about these things. I never think, and yet, when I begin to talk, I say the things I've found out in my mind without thinking. I had hoped for something. Defeat? No. Something more. There isn't anything more, except victory. It may be worse. I hoped for a long time for victory. Me too. Now, I don't know. It has to be one or the other. I don't believe in victory anymore. I don't. But I don't believe in defeat. Though, it may be better. What do you believe in? In sleep, I said. He stood up. I am very sorry to have stayed so long, but I'd like so to talk with you. It is very nice to talk again. I said that about sleeping, meaning nothing. We stood up and shook hands in the dark. I sleep at 3:07 now, he said. I go out on post early tomorrow. I'll see you when you come back. We'll have a walk and talk together. I walked him to the door. Don't go down, he said. It is very nice that you are back, though not so nice for you. He put his hand on my shoulder. It's all right for me, I said. Good night. Good night. Ciao. Ciao, I said. I was deeply sleepy. All right, so we are now coming up on an actual ad break that is about on time. I think we've got the settings all ironed out. So we'll go through with this one. We'll be back in just a few minutes. It fits nicely at the end of a chapter. And then we should be able to run for the rest of our scheduled hour for the rest of the evening. So, take a moment, stand up, stretch your legs, top up your drinks, attend to the fuzzy friends that you may have about, and we'll be back in just a little while. Thanks. All right, we are back. So, we've started to see a little bit more behind the scenes. Things have changed since our protagonist, narrator, whatever we want to call him, has been away. The friends that he'd seen are starting to realize that this isn't quite all the pageantry as was expected. Now, he'll be shipped off and see a different front, a different group, those that were previously his subordinates as he was leading a unit beforehand, the ambulance drivers. Which, honestly, that's a horrific position to be in. Driving an ambulance is got to be almost as bad as being a surgeon at the forefront. Because you're seeing people at their worst, especially a meat grinder like World War One. Alright, so let's continue with chapter 27. I woke when Rinaldi came in, but he did not talk, and I went back to sleep again. In the morning, I was dressed and gone before it was light. Rinaldi did not wake when I left. I had not seen the Baincita before. It was strange to go up the slope where the Austrians had been, beyond the place on the river where I had been wounded. There was a steep new road and many trucks. Beyond, the road flattened out, and I saw woods and steep hills in the mist. There were woods that had been taken quickly and not smashed. Then, beyond where the road was not protected by the hills, it was screened by matting on the sides and over the top. The road ended in a wrecked village. The lines were up beyond. There was much artillery around. The houses were badly smashed, but things were very well organized. There were signboards everywhere. We found Gino, and he got us some coffee, and later I went with him and met various people, and saw the posts. Gino said the British cars were working further down the Baincita at Ravna. Ravna? Mm-hmm. My Italian, it suffers. He had great admiration for the British. There was still a certain amount of shelling, he said, but not many wounded. There would be many sick now the rains had started. The Austrians were supposed to attack, but he did not believe it. We were supposed to attack too, but they had not brought up any new troops, so he thought that was off too. Food was scarce, and he would be glad to get a full meal in Gorizia. What kind of supper had I had? I told him, and he said that would be wonderful. He was especially impressed by the dolce. I did not describe it in detail, only said that it was a dolce, and I think he believed it was something more elaborate than bread pudding. But did I know where he was going to go? I said I didn't, but that some of the other cars were at Caporito. He hoped he would go up that way. It was a nice little place, and he liked the high mountain hauling up beyond. He was a nice boy, and everyone seemed to like him. He said where it really had been hell was at San Gabriel, and the attack beyond Long that had gone bad. He said the Austrians had a great amount of artillery in the woods along Ternova Ridge, beyond and above us, and shelled the roads badly at night. There's a battery of naval guns that had gotten on his nerves. I would recognize them because of their flat trajectory. You heard the report, and then the shriek commenced almost instantly. They usually fired 2 guns at once, one right after the other, and the fragments from the burst were enormous. He showed me one, a smoothly jagged piece of metal over a foot long. It looked like a babbiting medal. I don't suppose they are so effective, Gino said, but they scare me. They all sound as though they come directly for you. There's the boom, then instantly the shriek and burst. What's the use of not being wounded if they scare you to death? He said there were Croats in the lines opposite us now, and some Magyars. Our troops were still in the attacking positions. There were no wire to speak of, and no place to fall back to if there should be an Austrian attack. There were fine positions for defense dynamic cat got lost focus on there. along the low mountainsides that came up out of the plateau, but nothing had been done about organizing them for defense. What did I think about the Bentita anyway? I had expected it to be flatter, more like a plateau. I had not realized it was so broken up. Alto piano, Gino said, but no piano. We went back to the cellar in the house where he lived. I said I thought a ridge that flattened out on the top and had a little depth would be easier and more practical to hold than a succession of small mountains. It was no harder to attack up a mountain than on the level, I argued. That depends on the mountains, he said. Look at San Gabriel. Yes, I said, but where they had trouble was at the top, where it was flat. They got up to the top easy enough. Not so easy, he said. Yes, I said, but that was a special case, because it was a fortress rather than a mountain. Anyway, the Austrians had been fortifying it for years. I meant, tactically speaking, in a war where there was some movement, a succession of mountains were nothing to hold as a line because it was too easy to turn them. You should have possible mobility, and a mountain is not very mobile. Also, people always overshoot downhill. If the flank were turned, the best men would be left on the highest mountains. I did not believe in a war in mountains. I had thought about it a lot, I said. You pinched off one mountain, and they pinched off another, but when something really started, everyone had to get down off the mountains. What were we going to do if you had a mountain frontier? He asked. I had not worked that out yet, I said, and we both laughed. But, I said, in the old days, the Austrians were always whipped in the quadrilateral around Verona. They let them come down into the plain and whip them there. Yes, said Gino, but those were Frenchmen, and you can work out military problems clearly when you are fighting in somebody else's country. Yes, I agreed. When it is your own country, you cannot use it so scientifically. The Russians did, to trap Napoleon. Yes, but they had plenty of country. If you tried to retreat to trap Napoleon in Italy, you would find yourself in Brindisi. A terrible place, said Gino. Have you ever been there? Not to stay. I am a patriot, Gino said, but I cannot love Brindisi or Taranto. Do you love the Bentita? I asked. The soil is sacred, he said. But I wish it grew more potatoes. You know, when we came here, we found fields of potatoes the Austrians had planted. Has the food really been short? I myself have never had enough to eat, but I am a big eater, and I have not starved. The mess is average. The regiments in the line get pretty good food, but those in support don't get so much. Something is wrong somewhere. There should be plenty of food. The dogfish are selling it somewhere else. Yes, they give the battalions in the front line as much as they can, but the ones in the back are very short. They've eaten all the Austrians' potatoes and chestnuts from the woods. They ought to feed them better. We are big eaters. I am sure there's plenty of food. It is very bad for the soldiers to be short of food. Have you ever noticed the difference it makes in the way you think? Yes, I said. It can't win a war, but it can lose one. We won't talk about losing. There's enough talk about losing. But what has been done this summer cannot have been done in vain. I did not say anything. I was always embarrassed by the words sacred, glorious, and sacrifice, and the expression in vain. We had heard them, sometimes standing in the rain almost out of earshot, so that only the shouted words came through, and had read them on proclamations that were slapped up by bill posters over other proclamations, now for a long time. And I had seen nothing sacred. The things that were glorious had no glory, and the sacrifices were like the stockyards at Chicago, if nothing was done with the meat except to bury it. There were many words that you could not stand to hear, and finally only the names of places had dignity. Certain numbers were the same way, and certain dates. And these, with the names of the places, were all you could say, and have them mean anything. Abstract words such as glory, honor, courage, or hallow were obscene, beside the concrete names of villages, the numbers of roads, the names of rivers, the numbers of regiments, and the dates. Gino was a patriot, so he said things that separated us sometimes. But he was also a fine boy, and I understood his being a patriot. He was born one. He left with Peruzzi in the car to go back to Gorizia. It stormed all that day. The wind drove down the rain, and everywhere there was standing water and mud. The plaster of the broken houses was gray and wet. Late in the afternoon, the rain stopped, and from out number 2 post, I saw the bare, wet autumn country with clouds over the tops of the hills, and the straw screening over the roads, wet and dripping. The sun came out once, before it went down and shone on the bare woods beyond the ridge. There were many Austrian guns in the woods on that ridge, but only a few fired. I watched the sudden round puffs of shrapnel smoke in the sky above a broken farmhouse near where the line was. Soft puff with a yellow-white flash in the center. You saw the flash, then heard the crack, then saw the smoke ball distort and thin in the wind. There were many iron shrapnel balls in the rubble of the houses, and on the road beside the broken house where the post was. They did not shell near the post that afternoon. We loaded 2 cars and drove down the road that was screened with wet mats, and the last of the sun came through in the breaks between the strips of mattings. Before we were out, on the clear road behind the hill, the sun was down. We went down on the clear road, and as it turned a corner into the open, we went into the square arched tunnel of matting. The rain started again. The wind rose in the night, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, with the rain coming in sheets, there was a bombardment, and the Croatians came over across the mountain meadows and through patches of woods and into the front line. They fought in the dark and the rain, and a counterattack of scared men from the second line drove them back. There was much shelling, and many rockets in the rain, and machine gun and rifle fire all along the line. They did not come again, and it was quieter. And between the gusts of wind and rain, we could hear the sound of a great bombardment far to the north. The wounded were coming into the post. Some were carried on stretchers, some were walking, and some were brought on the backs of men that came across the field. They were wet to the skin, and all were scared. We filled 2 cars with stretcher cases as they came up from the cellar of the post, and I shut the door of the second car and fastened it. I felt the rain on my face turn to snow. The flakes were coming heavy and fast in the rain. When daylight came, the storm was still blowing, but the snow had stopped. It had melted as it fell on the wet ground, and now it was raining again. There was another attack, just after daylight, but it was unsuccessful. We expected an attack all day, but it did not come until the sun was going down. The bombardment started to the south, below the long wooded ridge where the Austrian guns were concentrated. We expected a bombardment, but it did not come. It was getting dark. Guns were firing from the field behind the village, and the shells, going away, had a comfortable sound. We heard the attack to the south had been unsuccessful. They did not attack that night, but we heard that they had broken through to the north. In the night, word came that we were to prepare to retreat. The captain at the post told me this. He'd had it from the brigade. A little while later, he came from the telephone and said it was a lie. The brigade had received orders that the line of Benzica should be held no matter what happened. I asked about the breakthrough, and he said that he had heard at the brigade that the Austrians had broken through the 27th Army Corps up to the Caporetto. There had been a great battle in the north all day. "If those bastards let them through, we are cooked," he said. It's interesting how words and phrases cycle entirely back around. It's about something a little bit north of 100 years ago, and they're saying cooked. Some things never really change. Although it's not a kid saying it, so we'll see. "It's Germans that are attacking," one of the medical officers said. The word Germans was something to be frightened of. We did not want to have anything to do with the Germans. "There are 15 divisions of Germans," the medical officer said. "They have broken through, and we will be cut off." "At the brigade, they say this line is to be held. They say they have not broken through badly, and that we will hold a line across the mountains from Monte Maggiore. Where did they hear this? From the division? The word that we were to retreat came from the division. We work under the Army Corps, I said, but here I work under you. Naturally, when you tell me to go, I will go, but get the orders straight. The orders are that we stay here. You clear the wounded from here to the clearing station. Sometimes we clear them from the clearing station to the field hospitals, too. I said, tell me, I've never seen a retreat. If there is a retreat, how are all the wounded evacuated? They're not. They take as many as they can and leave the rest. Oh, damn. What will I take in the cars? Hospital equipment. All right, I said. The next night, the retreat started. We heard that Germans and Austrians had broken through in the north and were coming down the mountain valleys toward Cividale and Udine. The retreat was orderly, wet and sullen. In the night, going slowly along the crowded roads, we passed troops marching under the rain. Guns, horses pulling wagons, mules, motor trucks, all moving away from the front. There was no more disorder than in an advance. That night we helped empty the field hospitals that had been set up in the least ruined villages of the plateau, taking the wounded down to Plava on the riverbed, and the next day hauled all day in the rain to evacuate the hospitals and clearing station at Plava. It rained steadily, and the army of the Bensita moved down off the plateau in the October rain and across the river, where the great victories had commenced in the spring of that year. We came into Gorizia in the middle of the next day. The rain had stopped, and the town was nearly empty. As we came up the street, they were loading the girls from the soldiers' whorehouse into a truck. There were 7 girls. They had on their hats and coats and carried small suitcases. 2 of them were crying. Of the others, one smiled at us and put out her tongue and fluttered it up and down. She had thick, full lips and black eyes. I stopped the car and went over and spoke to the matron. The girls from the officer's house had left early that morning, she said. Where are they going? To Conegliano, she said. The truck started. The girl with the thick lips put out her tongue again at us. The matron waved. The 2 girls kept on crying. The others looked interestedly out at the town. I got back in the car. We ought to go with them, Bonello said. That would be a good trip. We'll have a good trip, I said. We'll have a hell of a trip. That's what I mean, I said. We came up the drive to the villa. I'd like to be there when some of those tough babies climb in and try and hop them. You think they will? Sure. Everybody in the Second Army knows that, matron. We were outside the villa. They call her the Mother Superior, Bonello said. The girls are new, but everybody knows her. They must have brought them up just before the retreat. They'll have a time. I'll say they'll have a time. I'd like to have a crack at them for nothing. They charge too much at that house anyway. Government gyps us. Take the car out and have the mechanics go over it, I said. Change the oil, check the differential, fill it up, and then get some sleep. Yes, Signor Tenente. The villa was empty. Rinaldi was gone with the hospital. The major was gone, taking hospital personnel in the staff car. There was a note on the window for me to fill the cars with the material piled in the hole and to proceed to Pordenone. The mechanics were gone already. I went back to the garage. The other 2 cars came in while I was there, and their drivers got down. It was starting to rain again. So... sleepy. I went to sleep 3 times coming over here from Plava, Piani said. What are we going to do, Tenente? We'll change the oil, grease them, fill them up, then take them around in front and load up the junk they've left. Then do we start? No, we'll sleep for 3 hours. Christ, I'm glad to sleep, Bonello said. I couldn't keep awake driving. How's your car, Amo? I asked. It's all right. Give me a monkey suit and I'll help you with the oil. Don't you do that, Tenente, Amo said. It's nothing to do. You go and pack your things. My things are all packed, I said. I'll go and carry out the stuff that they left for us. Bring the cars around as soon as they're ready. They brought the cars around to the front of the villa, and we loaded them with the hospital equipment, which was piled in the hallway. When it was all in, the 3 cars stood in line down the driveway under the trees in the rain. We went inside. Make a fire in the kitchen and dry your things, I said. I don't care about dry clothes, Peony said. I want to sleep. I am going to sleep on the Major's bed, Vanilla said. I'm going to sleep where the old man corks off. I don't care where I sleep, Peony said. There are 2 beds in here. I opened the door. I never knew what was in that room, Vanilla said. That was old Fishface's room, Peony said. You 2 sleep in there, I said. I'll wake you. The Austrians will wake us if you sleep too long, Tenente, Vanilla said. I won't oversleep, I said. Where's Amo? He went out to the kitchen. Get to sleep, I said. I'll sleep, Peony said. I've been asleep sitting up all day. The whole top of my head kept coming down over my eyes. Take your boots off, Vanilla said. That's old Fishface's bed. Fishface is nothing to me, Peony said, lay on the bed, his muddy boots straight out, his head on his arm. I went out to the kitchen. Amo had a fire in the stove and a kettle of water on. I thought I'd start some pasta asciutta, he said. We'll be hungry when we wake up. Aren't you hungry? Aren't you sleepy, Bartolomeo? Oh, no, not so sleepy. When the water boils, I'll leave it. The fire will go down. You'd better get some sleep, I said. We can eat cheese and monkey meat. Oh, this is better, he said. Something hot will be good for those 2 anarchists. You go to sleep, Tenente. There's a bed in the Major's room. You sleep there. No, I'm going up to my old room. Do you want a drink, Bartolomeo? When we go, Tenente. Now, it wouldn't do me any good. If we wake in 3 hours and I haven't called you, wake me, will you? I haven't any watch, Tenente. There's a clock on the wall in the Major's room. All right. I went out then, through the dining room, in the hall, and up the marble stairs to the room where I had lived with Rinaldi. It was raining outside. I went to the window and looked out. It was getting dark, and I saw the 3 cars standing in line under the trees. The trees were dripping in the rain. It was cold, and the drops hung to the branches. I went back to Rinaldi's bed and lay down and let sleep take me. We ate in the kitchen before we started. Amo had a basin of spaghetti with onions and tinned meat chopped up in it. We sat around the table and drank 2 bottles of the wine that had been left in the cellar of the villa. It was dark outside, and still raining. Peony sat at the table very sleepy. I like a retreat better than an advance, Vanilla said. On a retreat, we drink Barbera. We drink it now. Tomorrow, maybe, we drink rainwater, Amo said. Tomorrow, we'll be in Udine. We'll drink champagne. That's where the slackers live. Wake up, Peony. We'll drink champagne tomorrow in Udine. I'm awake, Peony said. He filled his plate with spaghetti and meat. Couldn't you find tomato sauce, Barto? There wasn't any, Amo said. We'll drink champagne in Udine, Bonetta said. He filled his glass with a clear red Barbera. We may drink before Udine, Peony said. Have you eaten enough, Tenente? Amo asked. I've got plenty. Give me the bottle, Bartolomeo. I have a bottle apiece to take in the cars, Amo said. Did you sleep at all? I don't need much sleep. I slept a little. Tomorrow, we'll sleep in the king's bed, Vanilla said. He was feeling very good. Tomorrow, maybe we'll sleep in, Peony said. I'll sleep with the queen, Vanilla said. He looked to see how I took the joke. You'll sleep, Peony said sleepily. That's treason, Tenente, Bonello said. Isn't that treason? Oh, shut up, I said. You get too funny with a little wine. Outside it was raining hard. I looked at my watch. It was 9:30. It's time to roll, I said, and stood up. Who are you going to ride with, Tenente? Bonello asked. With Amo. Then you come, then Piani. We'll start out on the road for Cormans. I'm afraid I'll go to sleep, Piani said. All right. I'll ride with you. Then Bonello, then Amo. That's the best way, Piani said, because I'm so sleepy. I'll drive and you sleep a while. No, I can drive just so long as I know somebody will wake me up if I go to sleep. I'll wake you up. Put out the lights, Barta. You may as well leave them, Bonello said. We've got no more use for this place. I have a small locker trunk in my room, I said. Will you help take it down, Piani? We'll take it, Piani said. Come on, Aldo. He went off into the hall with Bonello. I heard them going upstairs. This was a fine place, Bartolomeo Amo said. He put 2 bottles of wine and half a cheese into his haversack. There won't be a place like this again. Where will they retreat to, Tenente? Beyond the Tagliamento, they say. The hospital and the sector are to be at the Pordenone. This is a better town than Pordenone. I don't know Pordenone, I said. I've just been through there. It's not much of a place, Amo said. All right, that brings us to the end of chapter 27. So things have escalated pretty severely at this point. He hadn't been back very long, and there was the expected confusion at the front, and the mixing up of orders, and the assurance that no, we'll hold this ground for as long as we need to, and the very next night they say, okay, no, we're retreating, bye. So it's about as expected. Things are never quite as straightforward as one might expect. Particularly in an early war, this is, remember, before radios. So sometimes news got a little garbled. You're lucky if they've got phone lines. So they do what they can. All right, let's try and get through. We've got another 40 minutes or so. We can probably get through at least another 2 chapters or so. Military organization is, well, okay. Today, the confusion comes from top down. Back then, you never know. When you've got idiots in charge, you can only do so much. I'm not even drinking anything hard tonight, and I'm getting spicy. Okay. So, chapter 28. As we moved out through the town, it was empty in the rain and the dark, except for columns of troops and guns that were going through the main street. There were many trucks, too, and some carts going through on other streets and converging on the main road. When we were out past the tanneries onto the main road, the troops, the motor trucks, the horse-drawn carts, and the guns were in one wide, slow-moving column. We moved slowly but steadily in the rain. The radiator cap of our car almost against the tailboard of a truck that was loaded high. The load covered with wet canvas. When the truck stopped, the whole column was stopped. It started again, and we went a little farther, then stopped. I got out and walked ahead, going between the trucks and carts and under the wet necks of the horses. The block was farther ahead. I left the road, crossed the ditch on a footboard, and walked along the field beyond the ditch. I could see the stalled column between the trees in the rain as I went forward across from it in the field. I went about a mile. The column did not move, although on the other side beyond the stalled vehicles, I could see the troops moving. I went back to the cars. This block might extend as far as Udine. Piani was asleep over the wheel. I climbed up beside him and went to sleep too. Several hours later, I heard the truck ahead of us grinding into gear. I woke Piani and we started, moving a few yards, then stopping, then going on again. It was still raining. A traffic jam hits a little bit differently when you're in a military retreat versus commuting in or out of work. Although, I will say, even with the only pressure I've had being, oh, I'm going to be late for work, being stopped at dead stop on the highway, I've never fallen asleep over the wheel. That's a little brazen there. The column stalled again in the night, and did not start. I got down and went back to see Amo and Bonello. Bonello had 2 sergeants of engineers and on the seat of his car with him. They stiffened when I came up. They were left to do something to a bridge, Bonello said. They can't find their unit, so I gave them a ride. With the Sir Lieutenant's permission. With permission, I said. The lieutenant is an American, Bonello said. He'll give anybody a ride. One of the sergeants smiled. The other asked Bonello if I was an Italian from North or South America. He's not an Italian. He's North American English. The sergeants were polite, but did not believe it. I left them and went back to Amo. He had 2 girls in the seat with him and was sitting back in the corner and smoking. Barto, I said. He laughed. Talk to them, Tenente. I can't understand them. Hey! He put his hand on the girl's thigh and squeezed it in a friendly way. The girl drew her shawl tight around her and pushed his hand away. Hey, he said. Tell the Tenente your name and what you're doing here. The girl looked at me fiercely. The other girl kept her eyes down. The girl who looked at me said something in a dialect I could not understand a word of. She was plump and dark and looked about 16. Sorella? I asked, and pointed at the other girl. She nodded her head and smiled. All right, I said and patted her knee. I felt her stiffen away when I touched her. The sister never looked up. She looked perhaps a year younger. Amo put his hand on the elder girl's thigh, and she pushed it away. He laughed at her. Good man, he pointed at himself. Good man. He pointed at me. Don't you worry. And the girl looked at him fiercely. The pair of them were like 2 wild birds. What does she ride with me for if she doesn't like me? Amo asked. They got right up in the car the minute I motioned to them. He turned to the girl. Don't worry, he said. No danger of using the vulgar word. No place for her. I could see she understood the word, and that was all. Her eyes looked at him very scared. She pulled the shawl tight. Car all full, Amo said. No danger of, no place for... Every time he said the word, the girl stiffened a little. Then, sitting stiffly and looking at him, she began to cry. I saw her lips working, and then tears came down her plump cheeks. Her sister was not looking up. Her sister, not looking up, took her hand, and they sat there together. The older one, who had been so fierce, began to sob. I guess I scared her, Amo said. I didn't mean to scare her. Bartolomeo brought out his knapsack and cut off 2 pieces of cheese. Here, he said, stop crying. The older girl shook her head and still cried. But the younger girl took the cheese and commenced to eat. After a while, the younger girl gave her sister the 2nd piece of cheese, and they both ate. The older sister still sobbed a little. She'll be all right after a while, Amo said. An idea came to him. Virgin? He asked the girl next to him. She nodded her head vigorously. Virgin too? He pointed to the sister. Both the girls nodded their heads, and the elder said something in dialect. That's all right, Bartolomeo said. That's all right. Both the girls seemed cheered. I left them sitting together with Amo sitting back in the corner and went back to Piani's car. The column of vehicles did not move, but the troops kept passing alongside. It was still raining hard, and I thought some of the stops in the movement of the columns might be from cars with wet wiring. More likely, they were from horses or men going to sleep. Still, traffic could tie up in cities when everyone was awake. It was a combination of horse and motor vehicles. They did not help each other any. The peasants' carts did not help much either. There were a couple of fine girls with Bartow. Those were a couple of fine girls with Bartow. A retreat was no place for two virgins. Real virgins, probably very religious. If there were no war, we would probably all be in bed. In bed I lay me down my head, bed and board, stiff as a board, in bed. Catherine was in bed now, between two sheets, over her and under her. Which side did she sleep on? Maybe she wasn't asleep. Maybe she was lying thinking about me. Blow, blow, ye western wind. Well, it blew, and it wasn't the small rain, but the big rain down that rained. It rained all night. You knew it rained down that rained. Look at it. Christ! That my love were in my arms, and I in my bed again. That my love Catherine, that my sweet love Catherine down might rain. Blow her again to me. Well, we were in it. Everyone was caught in it, and the small rain would not quiet it. Good night, Catherine, I said out loud. I hope you sleep well. If it's too uncomfortable, darling, lie on the other side, I said. I'll get you some cold water. In a little while it'll be morning, and then it won't be so bad. I'm sorry he makes you so uncomfortable. Try and go to sleep, sweet. I was asleep all the time, she said. You've been talking in your sleep. Are you all right? Are you really there? Of course I'm here. I wouldn't go away. It doesn't make any difference between us. Oh, you're so lovely and sweet. You wouldn't go away in the night, would you? Of course I wouldn't go away. I'm always here. Come whenever you want me. Here, Piani said. They started again. I was dopey, I said. I looked at my watch. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. I reached back behind the seat for a bottle of the Barbera. You talked out loud, Piani said. I was having a dream in English, I said. The rain was slacking, and we were moving along. Before daylight, we were stalled again. When it was light, we were at a little rise in the ground, and I saw the road of the retreat stretched out far ahead. Everything stationary except for the infantry filtering through. We started to move again, but seeing the rate of progress in the daylight, I knew we were going to have to get off that main road some way and go across country, if we ever hoped to reach Udine. In the night, many peasants had joined the column from the roads of the country, and in the column there were carts loaded with household goods. There were mirrors projecting up between mattresses, and chickens and ducks tied to carts. There was a sewing machine on the cart ahead of us in the rain. They had saved the most valuable things. On some carts, the women sat huddled from the rain, and the others walked beside the carts, keeping as close to them as they could. There were dogs now in the column, keeping under the wagons as they moved along. The road was muddy. The ditches at the side were high with water, and beyond the trees that lined the roads, the fields looked too wet and too soggy to try to cross. I got down from the car and worked up the road away, looking for a place where I could see ahead to find a side road we could take across country. I knew there were many side roads, but did not want one that would lead to nothing. I cannot remember them because we'd always passed them bowling along in the car on the main road, and they all looked much alike. Now I knew we must find one if we had hoped to get through. No one knew where the Austrians were now, nor how things were going, but I was certain that if the rain would stop and planes come over and get to work on that column, that it would be all over. All that was needed was for a few men to leave their trucks or a few horses to be killed to tie up completely the movement on the road. The rain was not falling so heavily now, and I thought it might clear. I went ahead along the edge of the road, and when there was a small road that led off to the north between two fields with a hedge of trees on both sides, I thought that we had better take it and hurry back to the cars. I told Piani to turn off and went back to tell Bonello and Amo. If it leads nowhere, we can turn around and cut back in, I said. What about these? Bonello said. His two sergeants were beside him on the seat. They were unshaven, but still military-looking in the early morning. They'll be good to push, I said. I went back to Amo and told him we were going to try it across country. What about my virgin family? Amo asked. The two girls were asleep. They won't be very useful, I said. You ought to have someone that could push. They could go back in the car, Amo said. There's room in the car. All right, if you want them, I said. Pick up somebody with a wide back to push. Bersaglieri, Amo smiled. They have the widest packs. They measure them. How do you feel, Tenente? Fine. How are you? Oh, fine, but very hungry. There ought to be something up that road, and we'll stop and eat. How's your leg, Tenente? Fine, I said. Standing on the step and looking up ahead, I could see Piani's car pulling out onto the little side road and starting up it. His car showing through the hedge of bare branches. Bonella turned off and followed him, and then Piani worked his way out, and we followed the two ambulances ahead, along the narrow road between hedges. It led to a farmhouse. We found Piani, and Bonello stopped in the farmyard. The house was low and long, with a trellis with a grapevine over the door. There was a well in the yard, and Piani was getting up water to fill his radiator. So much going in low gear had boiled it out. The farmhouse was deserted. I looked back down the road. The farmhouse was on a slight elevation above the plain. We could see over the country and saw the road, the hedges, the fields, and the line of trees along the main road where the retreat was passing. The two sergeants were looking through the house. The girls were awake and looking at the courtyard, the well, and the two big ambulances in front of the farmhouse with three drivers at the well. One of the sergeants came out with a clock in his hand. Put it back, I said. He looked at me, went in the house, and came back without the clock. Where's your partner? I asked. He's gone to the latrine. He got up on the seat of the ambulance. He was afraid we'd leave him. What about breakfast, Tenente? Bonello said. We could eat something. It wouldn't take very long. Do you think this road going down on the other side will lead to anything? Sure. All right, let's eat. Piani and Bonello went in the house. Come on, Amo said to the girls. He held his hand to help them down. The older sister shook her head. They were not going into any deserted house. They looked after us. They are difficult, Amo said. We went into the farmhouse together. It was large and dark, an abandoned feeling. Bonello and Piani were in the kitchen. There's not much to eat, Piani said. They've cleaned it out. Bonello sliced a big white cheese on the heavy kitchen table. Where was the cheese? In the cellar. Piani found wine, too, and apples. That's a good breakfast. Piani was taking the wooden cork out of a big wicker-covered wine jug. He tipped it and poured a copper pan full. Smells all right, he said. Find some beakers, Barto. The two sergeants came in. Have some cheese, sergeants, Bonello said. We should go, one of the sergeants said, eating his cheese and drinking a cup of wine. We'll go, don't worry, Bonello said. An army travels on its stomach, I said. What? It's better to eat. Yes, but time is precious. I believe the bastards have eaten already, Piani said. The sergeants looked at him. They hated the lot of us. You know the road? One of them asked me. No, I said. They looked at each other. We would do best to start, the first one said. We are starting, I said. I drank another cup of the red wine. It tasted very good, the cheese and apple. Bring the cheese, I said, and went out. Bonello came out carrying the great jug of wine. That's too big, I said. He looked at her regretfully. I guess it is, he said. Give me the canteens to fill. He filled the canteens, and some of the wine ran out on the stone paving of the courtyard. Then he picked up the wine jug and put it just inside the door. The Austrians can find it without breaking the door down, he said. We'll roll, I said. Piana and I will go ahead. The two engineers were already on the seat beside Bonello. The girls were eating cheese and apples. Amo was smoking. We started off down the narrow road. I looked back at the two cars coming and the farmhouse. It was a fine, low, solid stone house, and the ironwork of the well was very good. Ahead of us, the road was narrow and muddy. There was a high hedge on either side. Behind, the cars were following closely. All right, that brings us to the end of Chapter 28. So far, for a retreat, things are going about as well as could be expected. Yes, there's traffic, and the column is starting to split off, but things haven't really gone off the rails just yet. We'll see how long that carries on. It could be all right, or it could be rather sour. So, we'll have to see how that goes. All right, so we've got, I think, looks like 10 minutes till an ad break scheduled, and 20 minutes of our time, so we should be fine. Let's try and push through and get at least one more chapter in tonight. We're making good progress, but not a whole lot really has happened yet. So I'd like to have a little bit of excitement in tonight's session. We'll see. All right, chapter 29. At noon, we were stuck in a muddy road about, as nearly as we could figure, 10 kilometers from Udine. The rain had stopped during the forenoon, and 3 times we had heard planes coming, seen them pass overhead, watched them go far to the left, and heard them bombing on the main high road. Well, maybe it was good they pulled off. We had worked through a network of secondary roads, and had taken many roads that were blind, but had always, by backing up and finding another road, gotten closer to Udine. Now, Amo's car, in backing so that we might get out of a blind road, had gotten into the soft earth at the side, and the wheels, spinning, had dug deeper and deeper until the car rested on its differential. The thing to do now was to dig out in front of the wheels, put in brush so that the chains could grip, and then push until the car was on the road. We were all down on the road around the car. The 2 sergeants looked at the car and examined the wheels. Then they started off down the road without a word. I went after them. Come on, I said. Cut some brush. We have to go, I said. Get busy, I said, and cut brush. We have to go, one said. The other said nothing. They were in a hurry to start. They would not look at me. I order you to come back to the car and cut brush, I said. The one sergeant turned. We have to go on. In a little while, you will be cut off. You can't order us. You're not our officer. I order you to cut brush, I said. They turned and started down the road. Halt, I said. They kept on down the muddy road, the hedge on either side. I order you to halt, I called. They went a little faster. I opened up my holster, took the pistol, aimed at the one who had talked the most, and fired. I missed, and they both started to run. I shot 3 times and dropped one. The other went through the hedge and was out of sight. I fired at him through the hedge as he ran across the field. The pistol clicked empty, and I put in another clip. I saw it was too far to shoot at the second sergeant. He was too far across the field, running, his head held low. I commenced to reload the empty clip. Bonello came up. Let me go finish him, he said. I handed him the pistol, and He walked down to where the sergeant of engineers lay down across the road. Bonello leaned over, put the pistol against the man's head, and pulled the trigger. The pistol did not fire. "You have to cock it," I said. He cocked it and fired twice. He took hold of the sergeant's legs and pulled him to the side of the road so he lay beside the hedge. He came back and handed me the pistol. "Son of a bitch," I said. He looked down at the sergeant. "You see me shoot him, Tenente." "We've got to get to the brush quickly," I said. "Did I hit the other one at all?" "I don't think so," Amos said. "He was too far away to hit with a pistol." "The dirty scum," Piani said. We were all cutting twigs and branches. Everything had been taken out of the car. Bonello was digging out in front of the wheels. When we were ready, Amos started the car and put it into gear. The wheels spun round, throwing brush and mud. Bonello and I pushed until we could feel our joints crack. The car would not move. "Rock her back and forth, Barto," I said. He drove the engine in reverse, then forward. The wheels only dug in deeper. Then the car was resting on the differential again, and the wheels spun in the holes they had dug. I straightened up. "We'll try it with a rope," I said. "I don't think it's any use, Tenente. You can't get a straight pull." "We'll have to try it," I said. "She won't come out any other way." Piani's and Bonello's car could only move straight ahead down the narrow road. We roped both cars together and pulled. The wheels only pulled sideways against the ruts. "It's no good," I shouted. "Stop it!" Piani and Bonello got down from their cars and came back. Amo got down. The girls were up the road about 40 yards, sitting on a stone wall. "What do you say, Tenente?" Bonello asked. "We'll dig out once, and dig out and try once more with the brush," I said. I looked down the road. It was my fault. I had led them up here. The sun was almost out from behind the clouds, and the body of the sergeant lay beside the hedge. "We'll put his coat and cape under," I said. Bonello went to get them. I cut brush, and Amo and Piani dug out in front and beyond and between the wheels. I cut the cape, then ripped it in two and laid it under the wheel in the mud, then piled brush for the wheels to catch. We were ready to start, and Amo got up on the seat and started the car. The wheels spun, and we pushed and pushed, but it wasn't any use. "It's fucked," I said. "Is there anything you want in the car, Barto?" Amo climbed up with Bonello, carrying the cheese and 2 bottles of wine in his cape. Bonello, sitting behind the wheel, was looking through the pockets of the sergeant's coat. "Better throw the coat away," I said. "What about Barto's virgins?" "They can get in the back," Piani said. "I don't think we're going far." I opened the back door of the ambulance. "Come on, get in." The 2 girls climbed in and sat in the corner. They seemed to have taken no notice of the shooting. I looked back up the road. The sergeant lay in his dirty, long-sleeved underwear. I got up with Piani and we started. We were going to try to cross the field. When the road entered the field, I got down and walked ahead. If we could get across, there was a road on the other side. We could not get across. It was too soft and muddy for the cars. When they were finally and completely stalled, the wheels dug into the hubs. We left them in the field and started on foot for Houdin. When we came to the road, which led back toward the main highway, I pointed down it to the 2 girls. "Go down there," I said. "You'll meet people." They looked at me. I took out my pocketbook and gave them each a 10-lira note. "Go down there," I said, pointing. "Friends, family." They did not understand, but they held the money tightly and started down the road. They looked back as though they were afraid I might take the money back. I watched them go down the road, their shawls close around them, looking back apprehensively at us. The three drivers were laughing. How much will you give me to go in that direction, Tenente? Bonello asked. They're better off in a bunch of people than alone if they catch them, I said. Give me 200 lire and I'll walk straight back toward Austria, Bonello said. They'd take it away from you, Piani said. Maybe the war will be over, Amo said. We were going up the road as fast as we could. The sun was trying to come through. Beside the road were mulberry trees. Through the trees I could see our two big moving vans of cars stuck in the field. Piani looked back too. We'll have to build a road to get them out, he said. I wish to Christ we had bicycles, Bonetto said. Do they ride bicycles in America? Amo asked. They used to. Here it is a great thing, Amo said. A bicycle is a splendid thing. Christ, I wish we had bicycles, Bonetto said. I'm no walker. Is that firing? I asked. I thought I could hear firing a long way away. I don't know, Amo said. He listened. I think so, said. The first thing we will see will be the cavalry, Piani said. I don't think they've got any cavalry. I hope to Christ not, Bonello said. I don't want to be stuck on a lance by any fucking cavalry. You certainly shot that sergeant, Tenente, Piani said. We were walking fast. I killed him, Bonello said. I never killed anybody in this war, and all my life I've wanted to kill a sergeant. Damn, dude. You killed him on the sit, all right, Piani said. He wasn't flying very fast when you killed him. Never mind. That's one thing I can always remember. I killed that fucker of a sergeant. What will you say in confession? Amo asked. I'll say, bless me, father, I killed the sergeant. They all laughed. He's an anarchist, Piani said. He doesn't go to church. Piani's an anarchist too, Bonetto said. Are you really anarchists? I asked. No, Tenente, we're socialists. We come from Imola. Haven't you ever been there? No. My Christ, it's a fine place, Tenente. You come down there after the war, and we'll show you something. Are you all socialists? Everybody. Is it a fine town? Wonderful. You never saw a town like that. How did you get to be socialists? We're all socialists. Everybody's a socialist. We've always been socialists. You come, Tenente. We'll make you a socialist, too. Ahead, the court turned off to the left, and there was a little hill, and beyond a stone wall, an apple orchard. As the road went uphill, they ceased talking. We walked along together, all going fast against time. All right, that brings us to chapter 30. I think this will be all we get tonight. We do have an ad that wants to kick off, which I think we'll let it go. So we'll have a short ad. We'll come back, talk for a few minutes, because there are plenty of jokes to be made. And then we'll find someone to raid off to if we're able to. So, hang tight for just a little bit. We'll get through this one last ad break, and we will start a wrap-up tonight. All right, we are back, and let's go ahead and we can shift out of our reading nook tonight. All right, so this has been, so far, A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. This has been our 4th session, and things are getting a great deal more dire, depressing, a little bit of a darker turn in this read. We were expecting it when our point of view character was returning to the front. I mean, it's World War I. There's not really a whole lot of happy stories. But all the same, this was a very sharp contrast to our previous sessions. There was the budding romance, the back and forth tomfoolery that reminded us all of MASH early on, and then this, where things really started to go off the rails. There are a couple points in the retreat that bear noticing. The sergeants, who seemed to know something, know a little bit more, and decided that they were a little too important to really make themselves heard. But at the same time, they were very, very quick to be put down. Yes, also like MASH, things eventually get very bad, they get a little rough there. So, but the for the enlisted men to aggressively want to put down the sergeants, that's well, that's also, some things never change. Usually it's more targeted at the commissioned officers, but sometimes the sergeants get their own little bit of hate. And in this case, oh boy, that was a little extra. Our lieutenant that we're following to just gun one down for insubordination, that's, I mean, you do what you do. It's war. But the drivers to enthusiastically follow up was a bit of an eye-opener there. And then the revelation that two of his drivers and all of their hometowns, they're socialists. And he's wondering, well, how did that happen? How long has that been a thing? Because remember, socialism is just really starting to catch on around this time. It's been shortly around the Bolshevik Revolution. It's been just starting to take off. At this point, the Italians hadn't switched styles yet, but it was coming up pretty quickly. So there's some layers. And that's a term that had carried weight and been either villainized or whatever case, this direction you want to think of it, forever, really. So even back then, there were implications and imprecations. A little bit of it wasn't quite the boogeyman that it's used now. I think it was rather more firmly identified as what it actually is, not just if you're to the left of Mussolini, you must be a socialist. But that's the times we live in now, as opposed to what we used to live in. So, yeah. All right, guys. This will be as far as we read tonight. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, thank you very much. Thank you again, Jin Himitsu, for raiding in. It's not very often we get raiders, and you guys are always welcome. Those of you who have been with us for a while, oh, really just all around, know that we do co-streams. Each of our streams we do at the same time, both on YouTube and on Twitch. YouTube has all of our VODs going back to when we started the channel a year and change ago. So if you'd like to follow up on any of the classics that we've read, there's been more Hemingway, we read Dracula, we read Frankenstein, we've read all sorts of things. All those VODs are available and will be forever. So if you have not yet, a subscription to the YouTube channel and a like on the stream lets the algorithm over there know that we're doing some fun things. If you're over on Twitch, welcome! We're just really getting started, and we picked up at the end of January. We just hit affiliate this month, and I am lost. So, a follow here is certainly welcome. I'm not going to ask for subscriptions. I don't deserve subscriptions. But a follow? I like follows. Follows are friends. So, with all that, our introductions and such out of the way, our schedules are mostly consistent. Our next reading will be on Friday, where we will continue A Farewell to Arms. On Saturday, we start a little bit earlier, and we will be continuing our unarchived reading of a more modern work, Hyperion. Thank you, Z. All right. With that, let's go ahead and wrap up for tonight. And we'll go ahead and see if I can find someone to raid into. Tuesdays can be a little thin. I try to keep it to same category, spread the love of readers across the platform. We'll see what we can find. Let's see. So, someone's reading viewer stories. Somebody's reading poetry. There's the Buggered Badger we tried to go into last time, but that was kind of a weird stream. I think we might want to spread things around. Let's see. Somebody's reading Maya Angelou. Mysteries. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Just odd. Just odd. All right. Let's see. Somebody's doing mysteries. The Secret of the Old Clock and the Wyvern Mystery. I think we might have gone to her before. Let's try it. So, we're going to try and raid over to Snooze Button TV, who is reading some classic mysteries tonight. So, let's give them our very best, and hopefully have a continued night of nice reading together. All right, hopefully they let us raid. Huzzah, looks like it. All right, thanks again for joining us, everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Until next time, goodbye.
Muffled sneeze from the closet. The robber wheeled about. Walking directly, he flung open the door and exposed poor Nancy, who was crouching in the far corner. Angrily, he jerked her out. "Spying on us, eh?" he snarled. Nancy drew eye the man defiantly.